Welcome, everyone. Whoever is joining from across the globe, whether it's morning, afternoon, or evening in your time zone, I want to thank you for joining us today for this exciting banking webinar. I hope you are all having a wonderful day till now. We are about to dive into a very, very interesting topic, which is the impact of Gen AI, which is the flavor of the season now, and how it's impacting the future of banking, especially the credit unions. Your presence adds great value to this session. I'm thrilled to begin by introducing myself and AI Core Spot as a platform to you. So my name is Nitin Naveen. I'm Vice President Innovation and Strategy at AI Core Spot. With nearly a couple of decades of experience in different consulting firms where I focus mostly on the emerging technologies, it's my privilege to collaborate with a lot of global leaders, stakeholders, gaining insights into their innovative problem-solving approaches. Joining me today are a couple of my colleagues. Arvind is there, and we have in the backend Naveen, whose dedication has been instrumental in shaping this event. A round of applause for their efforts as we kick off this session. Let me take a moment to introduce our company, AI CoreSpot, to everyone. We established 4 years ago, and it serves started as a hub for knowledge specializing in AI, Gen AI, ML, robotics, IoT, and much more. Our webinars aim to present the latest advancements in technology while exploring diverse industries themes every month, and we are steadily growing our reach. Our mission as a platform is to nurture a global AI centric community where like minded individuals can collaborate and share the knowledge. We organize webinars and hybrid events backed by credible insights from industry experts, thought leaders, and a lot of great partners. Additionally, we create enriching digital content such as blogs, videos, podcasts, and newsletters to keep you informed about the industry's rapid evolution. For today's webinar, we are tackling a fascinating topic, as I said in the beginning, AI powered banking to make it personalized, secure, and seamless. Our speakers will delve into pivotal aspects like digital banking strategy, credit union applications, personalization, Gen AI, future outlook, and much more from the banking sector. The panel promises in-depth insights and engaging discussions that are not to be missed out. Before we dive deeper, let's highlight a few key pointers. Today's webinar wouldn't have been possible without our community partners, so special thanks to Lake Trust Credit Union and American Eagle Financial Credit Union. A great thanks to InfoVision also for their significant contribution in making this event successful. A heartfelt thanks also goes to all our attendees for taking their time to join us. Your participation is invaluable, and we hope you leave with actionable insights and some meaningful connections. At AI CoreSpot, our ultimate goal as a platform is to help you gain knowledge, build relationship, spark innovation. So if you walk away with new ideas or lasting connections today, we'll consider this event a successful one. So let me introduce our esteemed speakers one by one. Our first esteemed speaker is Krasi. Krasi is Chief Strategy Officer of Lake Trust Credit Union. Our second speaker is Pamela, who is SVP of Digital Solutions at American Eagle Financial Credit Union. And our third speaker and moderator for this webinar is Yuvraj, who is AVP BFI at InfoVision. Please note before we start this webinar, there's a disclaimer which I wanted to put out that the views expressed by all the speakers are their own and personal one, and it doesn't necessarily represent their respective organizations. So, without wasting any time, I'll pass the message or the stage to Yuvraj to kick off this engaging panel discussion. Over to you, Yuvraj.
Thank you, Nathan, and thanks for Pam, Krasi, and Arvind joining us, and all the attendees globally, right? Whatever the time zone you are, good morning, good evening. Thanks for taking time. So I would like to start this with what a like a top global influencer in the fintech says, right? If you don't have a generative AI strategy, the people will think that this is not a company for the future, right? That's already in the mindset. And when it comes for the banking industry, last 5 years, if you see, the banks are very excited with AML and all this innovations happening at the stage. But the next 5 years, it's going to be like primarily focusing on the core back office transformation, adopting to more automations, and how the native language processing can happen, right? Much more to do it using the powered Gen AI platform. So I'm equally excited like you guys to start and hear some of the perspectives from Pam and Krasi from their experiences. And this is strictly going to be like a knowledge sharing session. And we are not, interested to hear any of the confidential or sensitive data, right? It's more like their working experience, what they feel. With that said, I would like to start with Pam, from you, right? From a digital banking strategy, from your experience, what are some of the biggest challenges and opportunities that you see, which the financial institutions like banking, credit unions, mid and small side banking, right? They are facing with the technology adoption and that genuinely improves the customer experience.
Thanks, Raj, and thank you for having me today. I really appreciate the opportunity to talk this through. So from a digital banking perspective, when we talk about generative AI, I think that, we've all been in a space, if you've worked in digital banking the last 3 to 5 years, we've been talking about transformation, right? How are we going to meet the needs of our future customers and members at our respective financial institutions? AI is not new, far from new, right? It's been around literally decades, but its applications and its maturity has changed significantly how we can think about it and created really remarkable tools that we can use in our organizations to drive not just digital, but many other parts of our business. So I think the biggest hurdle for folks to overcome is if you haven't begun your transformation, I prefer to think of it as an evolution, you will need to really take into consideration not only how you might use UI directly or AI directly within your organization. So we all know our teams are using it. They're using it for personal needs. They're using it to help them write their performance reviews. They're using it for any number of things internally, but also what are your vendors doing? So in our space, we are a primarily outsourced shop as far as any of the digital platforms and many of the other services that we provide. And we have really a lot to learn, I think, about how our vendors are using AI and incorporating that into the work that they're doing, from whether it's from a data analysis perspective or chatbots or knowledge base items, and how can we not only leverage it, but understand it well enough and create that, internally a governance of some kind around understanding how it works, understanding where the information is coming from, understanding how we use it as humans and how it can benefit our customers and our members, regardless of how they're interacting with us. So that's really where I would say it's an opportunity to anticipate needs. It's an opportunity to amplify and streamline processes. And I think, how we're using it today is one aspect of it, but I think we also need to consider how it might expand and grow over the next few years and change how we do our business.
Thanks, Pam. Certainly, I agree to all those, and also like the as banks race towards deploying the generative AI, I think the right operating or best operating model can also help them to unlock the potentials, and that is one of the key factors that we keep hearing across the industry experts, CISOs, and CXOs, all the folks, right? I'm sure in the rest of the session we'll talk a little bit about it. Krasi, like, would you like to add from your views, right? How you can improve the members experience, because that is very critical for any of the financial institutions or banks or credit unions, how the member experience comes into play.
Yeah, I mean, it's a great question, right? And to piggyback off of Pam said, there's a lot happening in this space from an AI standpoint, right? AI, Gen AI for credit unions, financial institutions, been happening for a while. But what's interesting is I just read a very eye-opening statistic, right? You have about half of the credit unions out there which currently are considering AI and incorporating it into Gen AI, incorporating it into their strategy, et cetera. And then you have the remaining that maybe are not anywhere near as advanced or moving forward. So to both of your points, doing something to advance that agenda is incredibly important. But what's exciting to see, though, and to specifically answer your questions on how we can use generative AI to improve to enhance the member experience, there are things that are already happening in the industry, right? So as we look at chatbots, for example, one of the ways we see them being used is to improve the member experience through support. So you have those 24/7 abilities for a member to get an answer to any questions they might have, whether it's account balance, whether transaction history, fill in the blank, where it does not require any human interaction and they can use it at any time. Secondly, and equally as important, is improving the employee experience, right? And there's these chatbots that exist today that offer our employees the ability to get real-time information and query those knowledge-based systems so that they can more quickly answer our members' questions, and again, continuing to improve the member experience. Additionally, though, as we think about this, is around fraud detection, right? One of the most common use cases that we see Gen AI using today is fraud detection and prevention. In fact, again, another number I just read is over 2/3 of financial institutions currently use some form of AI to detect fraud or prevent it. And to me, that's a real great win because it provides real-time identification of suspicious activities, which then help our member save their money, right, and improve that member experience. As we look into the future, and I think it mentioned something in the future, things that we can continue, right, is how do we improve the onboarding experience of our members, right? So generative AI, I believe, can create those real personalized experiences to help our members on their journey with us from day 1 to 90, 120, etc. And then finding those best product recommendations along the way that's going to meet them where they are. So there's so many different use cases, honestly, that I could share. But to me, it all comes with the member at the center of it or at the heart of it, and identifying the best use case to go after.
Thanks, Gracie. Probably like, since we talked about a little bit about the member experience, how how it is impacting when Gen AI is implemented or in the process of implementing, I would like to take it to the next level. Probably, Pam, if you can talk about, because any innovation, any newer technologies that coming into place, the adoption is a key. And especially when it comes for, not everybody is a tech savvy. When such digital solutions we implemented, at least we need to make sure that the adoption is seamless and it is quick and it goes real into the live users, right? So, what are some of your point of views from your experience that you've seen, whether it's a small or mid or high size of implementation? What are the things that we can at least consider while any such and very specific to generative AI?
Well, it's a great question, and the first thing I would think of is I go back to what Krasi just said about fraud, right? It's a really important part of how we might use these tools and how we should use these tools on a go-forward basis. And that, to me, speaks to when you think about the diversity of users at the end user point of view. One of the groups I think of most readily is non-digitally savvy, maybe boomer, Gen X groups that they use them because they're important and that's a way to connect with their financial institution. But fraud is a really big concern for those groups, and with all groups. But that when you think about the traits of those generations, their use of digital tools tends to be towards making sure that they're keeping an eye on things. They're keeping an eye on their credit score. They're keeping an eye on their transactions, making sure that they're not becoming victims, in the long run. So that's one group that I think of that we have to make sure that we're connecting with, that we have to make sure that we're communicating with. We may need to teach them to some extent how to use these tools. But I think once they adopt them and once they understand how they can be benefited by AI and digital in general, it's a really great experience for them because they do have access at their fingertips. The other end of the spectrum I think about is younger folks, right? You have Gen Z coming up. They're starting to reach that age where they're coming into adulthood. They're managing their own finances. They need tools not only to better understand how to manage their finances, but also in the same vein to protect themselves. But they're more likely to be the folks who are going to embrace this kind of technology, right? We see it. I mean, you can't live your life today without conducting business with AI. It's just a part of our world. And these are the folks that are more comfortable with it. But again, they need guidance. You know, when you think about, and we all hear these stories about where does Gen Z get their information from, is TikTok, a short form video platform that's can be very excellent, but also can be fraught with misinformation as well. So those are the two groups I tend to think of when we talk about, our diverse users. But I think there's a third one, and this is where credit unions, I think, excel, and that is with underbanked and unbanked participants in our community. So, this is an area where at credit unions specifically, we tend to lean into. We're very focused on how we can help our communities and our individuals not only better manage, their finances, but more importantly, get access to the tools that they need. It's a struggle, frankly, because a lot of these folks that are on the lower end of the socioeconomic scale, their access is entirely through their cell phone, that they don't have other devices that they have access to. And in many cases, they're limited to their access to the internet, whether that's regionally or just because they can't afford to spend the money on it. So those are the third leg of the stool, if you will, that I think of when I think about diversity as users and how important it is that we create paths for everyone to be able to engage with these platforms, understand what's happening, but then use AI to help guide them, use AI to help teach, use AI to help them get a better handle on how they can manage their money and protect themselves from fraud and learn as they grow and move into the later stages of life, whatever their needs may be.
And absolutely, that makes a lot of sense in terms of because the adoption makes the business as usual, right? For the customer retention as well as the newer generation, the more they start using these platforms, it's going to help them for customer growth as well, right? For most of these financial institutions, that is where a lot of such investment goes into it. That's a very good thing. Pam. Thanks for sharing that. I think that takes me to the next topic. We spoke about the member experience. We spoke about the adoption, and I don't want to lose with all these things coming in. I don't want to lose the personalization as well, right? That is the key, and where the existing platforms takes care of me like a lot of respect and what I need and what I want. It's more like very specific to an individual, right? And member is the key here. Maybe Krasi, if you can share some of your experiences. I'm sure this is happening for a while, and it's more about very specific to Gen AI, how some of these strategy offers, products and services that are very specific to the personalization at a scale.
Yeah, I mean, to me, that's probably one of the most exciting use cases for Gen AI, right? Is personalization. I think Pam hit on some great topics here, and what I kind of want to pull the thread a little bit as we think about our members and the ones that we really help support, where I think Gen AI can really help with personalization. I mean, think about this. Up until now, right, the way marketing and really reaching out to our members and frankly to a customer's period, whether you're a credit union or a bank, is based on whether it's a specific age cohort or you have your different generations or certain income levels, etc., right? But never really got specifically to what might be the best recommendation based on your specific behavior, right? And based on your specific way you conduct banking or you do live your life. And so that's where Gen AI, I think, excels and can help us move that journey and experience to the next level. From using data, right? Using data and data-driven insights, trying to analyze members' transaction history, spending patterns, their behaviors, we'll be able to identify that unique profile of a member to then be able to, number one, target and market the right way with the insights and marketing campaigns that really address the specific pain point that we've identified through their transaction history, we'll be able to offer a product or design a product potentially, right, that might fit their best need rather than holistically for a specific member or a group of folks. Thinking about how we then provide that customized financial planning along the way, which again very much meets that need of the individual based on the data that we've covered around them. And then from there, continuing on the journey and seeing, hey, based on the feedback they provide along the way, what are some pain points that potentially we're not identifying that we can gather and still be able to capitalize on that, use it to feed future product development or future products and services that we might be able to offer to our members. And finally, I think Pam rightfully said, one of the areas we excel in is the unbanked and underbanked population. Well, one of the ways we approach that is through educational content, right? How do then, using Gen AI and all these activities, information we know about a member, we can then provide the best personalized educational content to help them on that journey to financial well-being. So to me, as I said, I do think one of the most exciting use cases or uses of Gen AI is to provide those great personalized experience for our members to help them reach whatever goal they might have.
I completely second that, and absolutely makes a lot of sense. Until Pam, you would like to add something on this? Please go ahead.
No, I agree completely. Marketing to the individual is such a key part of what we're going to be able to do with the data and the analytics that we will be using as we roll forward. And it begins to mimic, other experiences you have out in the world. Amazon, being a great example of telling me the next best gadget that I need for my kitchen or whatever that may be. We need to present in a similar manner because that's what our members are getting used to, and that's what they expect, frankly.
Absolutely, every day in, day out, part of our life nowadays. With that said, maybe Krasi, probably you can, let's talk about something about the benefits, right? I mean, all these are great. We are implementing it, we are modernizing it, and then we are staying to the cutting edge side of it, right? And improving the efficiency and all. Talk about some of the specific benefits that credit unions today, they already achieved or in progress of achieving it. That's something I would like to hear from you.
Yeah, of course. I mean, look, I separate benefits into two buckets, right? To me, it's the member benefit and then the credit union's benefits, right? From a member experience standpoint, and we already hit starting on this, but again, enhanced member experience, being able to get access to information, to answers to things much quicker, and much more accurately, right, than perhaps you might be able to access today. I just touched on the whole personalization aspect, but again, getting very specific personalized recommendations and the offers and really help at the time that must be most relevant to you, that might be most relevant to you, I think is another great benefit for them. And then as I share the content, right, I mean, there's just so much information out there that really providing that personalized content library and access to our members would be really one of the great benefits to them. But as we look into credit unions, right, some of the benefits that are realized from our standpoint is operational efficiency, right? I mean, think about automating some of those routine tasks that take a lot of time and an individual to do that now become automated and gives you extra capacity for those team members to then deploy and use in something else, right, to help our members' lives get improved even more. Cost reduction, right? So by automating certain things, there's definitely reduction in costs because you're spending less time on those less valued or low value tasks and more time on the higher value tasks. Decision making, I mean, no surprise, right? The data driven decision making becomes very, very important. And then you get the opportunity to make more informed decisions, and then the opportunity for erroring decreases. So your accuracy is much, much higher. And the final thing I would mention is risk management, right? Benefit from a CU standpoint. We talked about fraud detection a little bit earlier and prevention, but given all of the risk assessments and analyzing behaviors, etc. Gen AI is a perfect tool to help us with our risk management and kind of reduce some of those potential for fraud and things that exist today. So to me, those are kind of the two main buckets of benefits that I look at that could benefit both the credit union and the member.
Yeah, absolutely. And like just to add to it, at least I've seen several experts in the report saying that because increasing productivity is a key, one of the key benefit through generative AI. At least I've seen that it estimates across the global banking sector, the Gen AI could add anywhere between 200 billion and $340 billion in value annually,
Yeah.
or probably around 3% to 4.7% annually. It's not like very light. I mean, it's coming. It's already happening, and it's going to be very significant. We all have to see that as well, right? So with that said, since there is so many things happening, maybe Pam, I would like to hear any initiative you bring in. Like we talked about adoption, member services, experience. These are all very, very key for the success, and at the same time, the continuous learning and development or improvement is a key as well, right? To sustain any of such initiatives, so that you ensure that year over year that is happening. At least from your experience, this again involves a large pool of talents, who already worked on certain, technologies for decades, and then it is coming on a way. So, what are some of the experiences that what you hear from the ground, and what are some of the best practices we can advise the group like? So it's not something like a concern for everybody. Yeah.
It's a great question, Raj. When I think about it, the first place my mind goes is, our team members that work at our respective financial institutions are just as diverse as the communities that we serve, right? So there's a wide range, a spectrum, if you will, of digital natives right up to boomers, probably. They're usually in the C-suite. And you have to have everybody on board. So I think you have to go back to the basics. You have to think about change management and how you address that internally. You have to look at your leadership team and their willingness to not only advocate for new technology and bringing in AI and doing all the things that we need to do, but really evangelizing that this is the way our business is going, and we need to not only learn it and use it and adopt it, but we have to do it, and we have to do it pretty quickly. The speed of innovation is lightning lately. It's just crazy how quickly things are changing compared to historically how things have changed in the financial institution space. I think the culture is really important too of the organization. So that, ties back to the leadership, but you also need a culture where people are encouraged to learn and use about new tools, fail once in a while. We don't always want to have that happen, but we have to try new things. And if we're not trying new things and we're not encouraging our team members to learn what they can about these tools as we onboard them and adopt them, we're failing them and their ability to embrace, these changes that are coming. I think a key area that we talk about at my organization is quite a bit is just the transparency that we need to have, that there is change coming and we're going to bring you guys along as much as you want to be brought along. But there is an expectation too that, this is where our business is going and we need to adopt this because we need to remain competitive and we need to remain relevant in the space. To wrap it up, I would just say change management basics is pretty much where I would go as far as anything that needs to come in that you're going to need your team to not only learn how to use, but also help your members and customers use, when everything is alive and running.
And I completely agree and like the idea of a structured way of implementing it, right? It's a change management is a key. And of course, the transparency and top-down leadership commitment and motivation is very, very essential for these kind of initiatives, right? So the bottom up, they feel that this is something day in, day out to breathe, like they have to do this. It's not like an ad hoc work or additional activities that the team is going to stretch themselves, right? I think that's a great point of view, Pam. And I think what we can do is, in interest of time, we would also like switch some of the topics on the cost efficiency And maybe Krasi, like if you can talk about how this Gen AI might contribute to drive some of these cost savings or operational efficiencies, especially in the credit union space.
Yeah, of course. And the way I look at it, honestly, to me, it's cost efficiency, but also opportunity for additional revenue generation, right? So, for example, I highlighted earlier automating some routine tasks, right? Which in turn save time and give our team members additional capacity, if you will, to handle other things. Well, that not only leads to reduced costs, right, and improved efficiency, but also gives us the ability with that extra capacity to do something that could be revenue generating and help the credit union grow revenue. We highlighted chatbots earlier, right? A great way for us to engage with our members in a virtual way, give them answer to questions, etc., answer their inquiries. Well, not only is that able to save some costs, right? Because rather than having our contact center, for example, open extended hours, we could save that. Or the additional capacity that we've created in the contact center, we could use it for outbound calling, for example, right? Which could generate additional revenue for us as well. Loan processing is something I don't think I mentioned earlier, but as we think about processing loans, right, many of the loans today in the credit union industry are done through human intervention, right, or some type of touch. Well, automating that, which frankly, there's a lot of work being done across the industry to do, it's going to, again, create some additional capacity for our team members to further deploy their resources on something that can also lead to additional revenue. We're talking about marketing, right? Marketing and Gen AI's ability to um, provide that personalized messaging and targeted products and recommendations to our members. Well, one great benefit is the ability to do that more with Gen AI, which is going to generate additional revenue, but also eliminating some of the costs associated with ineffective advertising, right? So you cut all that out, you create some additional financial capacity and human capacity, and then you're able to target more members to generate additional things. The other thing I didn't mention earlier, but as I think about maintenance and resource allocations, right? Another great use I've seen with Gen AI across the industry is using scheduling and resource capacity and movement, et cetera, to create a better scheduling of staff and management and utilization of your facilities, right? And we know that leads to additional cost savings, et cetera. So I know there's a couple more I can highlight. The final one I want to touch on is feedback analysis. I think I shared that a little bit earlier. But as we think about our members today, they leave feedback everywhere, right? They don't just go directly to your branch to give feedback. They don't just go on your website, right? But they go to Reddit, they go to Facebook or Meta, if you will, etc. Well, that's another great way by which you could use Gen AI to actually gather that feedback, analyze it very quickly, and identify what quick adjustments you need to do so that way you can eliminate that need for unpleasant, right? Not the best. And your efforts in something that is better suited. And by the way, that helps with retention, right? We all know how expensive it is to acquire new members. Or if you could reduce the number of members that are trying to leave you, right, then you get some savings there. So those are just a few examples in my mind, from a cost saving standpoint, that I think Gen AI is really going to help us and is already helping the industry.
Thanks, Krasi. Pam, would you like to add some of your point of views on this cost efficiency?
No, I agree completely. I really like Krasi brought up the feedback loop. I think that's important to keep in mind because you're absolutely right. There's a lot of feedback happening and we spend a lot of money, on PR firms tracking those things. And if we could have an AI agent to, take care of that for us, not only gather it, but analyze it and turn it back into something actionable that we can make a change or fix. The ability to retain members is vital in listening to members and supporting them when they have an issue or that they've reported a problem.
Oh, absolutely. And Pam, while this generative AI is revolutionizing the banking industry or the financial services industry, like including credit unions and so, and also we see that these companies they adopt the technologies instinctively, right? And then while all this happening fast, how do we ensure that the innovation and trust are balanced? Because that is the key as well. While everything happens, the company needs to constantly innovate and invest, and then they should also make sure that the members' trust are retained, it, right? So maybe share some of your views from a generative AI standpoint. That would be helpful.
Yeah, it's a great question. I mean, I think one of the hallmarks of credit unions is that we have the trust of our members, right? Most financial institutions, if someone has been banking with you for any number of years, they trust you first. They trust you more in most cases than than a fintech or an outlier that might be offering similar services. What we need to do is we need to capitalize on that trust, right? So as we innovate, as we grow, as we bring in these new tools and abilities, the member needs to come along as part of the journey so that they're not feeling left out. The last thing you want anyone to feel is that they're not a part of the shift. And it's important that we are communicating with them, but we also need to create guardrails, right? So there's transparency, we need some guardrails, but we need to have humans be the oversight of a lot of these systems because number one, they can be flawed and we have to be mindful of that. The last thing we want to do is implement something that might, create a problem for some segment of our membership. But I think most importantly, we are the trusted keepers of their data, their information. And there's a lot going on in that space, I know, from a regulatory standpoint, although I think they've pulled back recently on some of the open data movement in the United States. But we have, we're the holders of that information. And if we don't act in a ethical, mindful, transparent way, our members are not going to continue to engage with us. So the trust, I think, is the question becomes, how do you maintain that even as you build out these systems? And that's a really, really important thing for us to all keep in mind as we move forward through this technology and any changes that are upcoming, whether it's AI or not. Frankly, there needs to be a mindful focus on that.
Absolutely. And also like you rightly said, the challenges are emerging. Nobody has a control. When you implement it, the challenges are emerging as we progress. And also getting this Gen AI rightly implemented can potentially unlock all the values that we are talking. But if getting it wrong can also lead to complications, right? We also aware of it. And that can even, some of the challenges that we see is very specific to the risk and how the false and illegal information or illogical informations, right? Some of those can also be there. But again, there are ways to do it in the right way. You're absolutely right. And that's where the trust and innovation is very critical to balance it with the members. And maybe like Krasi, if you can also expand the member engagement, right? I think that's the next thing which we wanted to hear. While we do all these things to ensure all the checks and balances are happening while we implement this technology, and how do this member engagement happens, right? In terms of how do we improve their association continuously, right? And how the communication strategy. I know Pam touched a little bit about it. If you can be more specific on those two, especially for the credit unions, that would be good.
Yeah, I mean, look, another really good question. I think Pam hit on some of it, and we've already covered. But again, the biggest thing is personalization, right? And getting to the members at the right time when they really need the help. One of the coolest things that Gen AI does is, right, helps you in real time examine members' transactions, behaviors, history, etc., and allows you to then intervene at the time that a member might be struggling more, right? So, for example, think about this. Somebody might be putting on extra debt, which is unusual for them on a credit card, etc. That should be an immediate alert to say this member might be struggling, right? Something might happen in their life. How can we reach out and offer that help, which is where, to Pam's earlier point, we as credit unions thrive, right? Helping to support our members. So to me, that personalization and immediacy, if you will, for us to be able to understand and act is key. And then provide them with the right interactive financial tools, right? AI can help power those interactive financial tools, whether it's budgeting calculators, whether it's investment stimulators, etc. But given the access to those tools when we see our members struggling, to help them get on the right track, while also doing a proactive outreach, right? So through AI and using AI, once we predict those needs, that could immediately be converted into an opportunity for us to pick up the phone and reach out to that member, whether it's call, whether it's text message, whether it's email, etc., and offer that help to better save or offer help for additional need, et cetera, et cetera. So to me, really having an understanding of that data and behavior of a member and immediately being able to react is probably the biggest win. Other ways by which we can enhance the member experience, right? Gen AI is a great way for us to enhance our digital experience, just as Pam highlighted earlier, right? But thinking about how we personalize it, how can we use some relevant features, how can we make it easier for our members to engage with their account. Loyalty programs, right? We know one of the flaws with loyalty programs and rewards and management is the actual administration of it. That's where AI can also play significant role in improving that member experience or helping us manage that particular item. And then finally, I'm going to touch up on social media engagement, right? I mean, we know the younger generation in particular lives on social media. I have 2 teenage daughters, so I know better than anybody else. But that's where Gen AI could also be incredibly helpful, right? To help provide those right nudges to our members at the right time within the social media outlet that they use to help them, whether it's save money, make money, right, improve their financial well-being. So those are some of the things that I think are really going to help with the personalized communication, but also engaging with members at the right time and at the right place.
Thanks, Jose. I think there's one question from Michael Zhu. The question is, how can financial institutions ensure their information security programs remain effective, and what key metrics should they use to measure this effectiveness? Who want to respond? Please go ahead. Yeah.
Do you mind repeating the questions? I missed it. I'm sorry.
So how can financial institutions ensure their information security programs remain effective? And what key metrics should they use to measure this effectiveness? There are two parts of the questions here.
Okay.
So I can't really speak to the metrics part of this question, but certainly ensuring your InfoSec programs remain effective, you have to include your InfoSec team in any decision you're making regarding these programs. They should be at the forefront of educating themselves on how they work, what the source of information is that is flowing through the program, how the analytics are running. Because there is a big risk here, right? And it's partly it's a risk to your member and the member's information, the data itself. But there's also partly a risk, obviously, of fraud. And if you're not including your InfoSec team in any of the projects that you might be working on, really from the beginning, you're missing the mark, and you could end up in a place where it would be challenging to go back and reframe the work that you've done if you haven't done it correctly from the beginning. I think in time that will abate because it's still very new, and I think we have a lot to learn here. At least the applications of AI are very new, and we have a lot to learn about it. But that would be my recommendation as far as at least keeping your InfoSec programs effective when you enter into these projects.
Thanks,
Yeah,
Fam. Yeah, go ahead, Carson.
No, I was going to say I agree with everything Pam just said, right? Yeah, I don't think that I can say any more.
And also, like the key metrics can vary, right, depending on the situation and the use case, right, that we deal with. So yeah. With that said, right, from a leadership perspective, Pam, what are some of the cultural shifts that are needed within the financial institutions to successfully embrace the digital transformation?
That's a great question. We're in the midst of this right now at my organization. And one of the things that we're doing is actually along the lines of what I just said about InfoSec, we're including everybody. You want to be a tester, come be a tester. You want to work the system, you want to see it. We're doing a lot to do a lot of communication. We're frankly over communicating about what work we're doing here so that the team, not only if they're not a direct part of the change that's happening or the decisions that are being made, they're at least aware of what's happening and the decisions that are being made, because it's a big cultural shift for a lot of organizations. Now, there are many organizations out there that have been using these types of tools for a very long time. They're very comfortable with them, very innovative, agile organizations out there. But I would hazard a guess that that's a smaller percentage of credit unions versus very traditional credit unions who may be a little slower to, or at least not a leader in technology, but a fast follower. And there's a lot of legacy systems out there. So you really have to work together as a group. I like to think about it as a flattening out the organization, if you will. You've got to get rid of those silos, and you've got to really have some very deep conversations at many levels on how this is going to change our business and how it's going to benefit us, how it's going to create efficiencies, all of the stuff that Krasi talked about earlier, and how it's going to ultimately be, a new way for us to do business and change how we operate in the world.
Absolutely makes sense. And Krasi, I remember you spoke some of the initial use cases, right, about cost efficiency. And so would you like to add a few more use cases, some of the key use cases that you've seen, which already implemented or in progress?
Yeah, I mean, the main two, honestly, I would highlight one, no surprise, is the usage of chatbots, right? AI-driven chatbots that could be seen pretty much across the industry, right? We implemented one not too long ago. So there are really a few examples out there of chatbots. The other one that's really interesting, I would say, would be around automating loan processes, right? Is how do you automate the loan application process and doing some of these things? And I think Navy Federal has been very vocal, and there have been a few publications out there on the use that they've done. And then finally, I would say is marketing. I mean, we've talked a lot about this, but doing personalized marketing and messages to members, that would probably be the one that you see most often. And to me, those are three that, if not implemented yet, would be a great ones to start with, that would help realize those efficiencies and cost savings right off the bat.
Thanks, Krasi. Pam, would you like to add a few more use cases?
No, I agree with everything Krasi said. I think, lending is a very important area. And one of the test areas that we've run is we've started using an AI to help us with our underwriting. We ran it side by side for a little while against our traditional underwriting. And one of the areas we found that we could maybe change the way we're looking at applications coming in and, lend to a deeper credit scores. So it's an interesting model. But I think as credit unions, we just have to be open to, right? We don't want to do anything to hurt anyone, obviously, but we need to be taking a look at everything that's becoming available to us and thinking about how strategically it makes sense for us, depending on what our primary mission focus is, or, the initiatives that you have internally going on, how it may apply.
Got it. And I would like to add at least one or two from what I have seen. One is from a finance perspective, how to automate the whole expense management and save a lot of time for the CFOs. I think that is something we see use cases coming in. And the second thing, what I would talk about is even HR, the talent management, especially in banking, how the whole, modernize the efficiency of the HR service delivery. And also, like, how do you bring in the belonging and diversity, the whole recruitment and onboarding process? That can be another use case as well, where there are some of the benefits which banks are thinking. I know we are very close to the top of the hour. Probably I have two more things to go with. Maybe I'll start with Krasi first, right? One is how do you see the collaboration with the fintechs, right? what role do you think like the partnerships with the fintech companies will play in advancing some of this generative AI in the credit unions? That's the first thing. And the second thing from you, Krasi, like what is the future outlook that you see or you envision, right? And what advice do you give for the banking leaders, especially navigating and evolving this technology landscape and ensure the the sustainable growth and inclusivity as well?
Yeah. So I'll start with fintechs. I'll be honest. I think fintechs are going to play a significant role in getting AI out there quickly, right? And the reason being is, think about this: these organizations are experts in a particular lane, if you will, right, or member problem. Think about this: they're obsessed about the customer, and they put the customer at the center of everything they do, and it's all about continuous improvement and updates, right? So that incredible focus on the customer, or the member, as we like to call it in the credit union industry, is significant, because that's all they're focused on, is creating that amazing user-friendly experience. And I feel we as credit unions excel in providing great member experience to our members. So to me, that marriage is a perfect one, because we can really focus on a particular item or particular member pain point, and partner with fintechs to go after it. The reason why, to me, that's a big deal, right? I mean, fintechs, they give you access to cutting edge technology, right? They really specialize in developing in those advanced technologies. And AI is a part of many of the work that they do. They're expert in rapid deployments of solutions, right? So as we all know, they're big fans of agile way of working, continuing to iterate, but getting out to market with MVPs and very quickly, which will be very helpful for credit unions to not only start on the journey they haven't right start on the journey of Gen AI, or continuing to compete and stay relevant. They're great at data analytics, right? So we talk about being obsessed about customer. Well, that's all done through the usage of data analysis, right, and really understanding those problems. And then the final thing I want to highlight, when why that partnership, I feel, is those partnerships are going to excel, is the great in innovation, right? Innovation when it comes to product development, etc. And I think Pam said it earlier. Innovation is key, and needs to be embraced by everybody for us to stay relevant. So again, to answer your question, I think fintechs are going to be great partners for credit unions to help us stay competitive, right, and get out quickly the game with generative AI. Excuse me. As I think about looking ahead, right, the second part of the question you asked me, and then what advice I would give to other credit unions. I mean, look, start, right? Start somewhere, but start by clearly defining your objective, right? What are you going after? What do you want to do? Is it you're going after a great member experience and engagement, right? Is that what your goal is? And if yes, define it. Is it you're looking to streamline operations? Is it you want to enhance your risk management? Like, what is it you're trying to accomplish? So start right there. What is the objective? Make sure you have the right data infrastructure, right? I mean, Gen AI in general, uses a ton of data. So for it to be able to give you the right answers or the right information, it needs to get the right data. Well, to get the data needs to be structured the right way, has to be the right quality, all that fun jazz. So you might want to spend some time looking at your data infrastructure and investing a little bit if you're really serious about AI and Gen AI. Start small, right? I started with this, but start somewhere. Start with something small. That's where I think fintechs will be great. The experiment, test, and learn, right? Scale from there. There's a lot of power in just starting and then working from wherever you are. I know I've said this plenty of times, to focus on the member. You have to do everything from a member experience standpoint, right? Member in the middle, at the heart of everything you do, and go for it. I think we talked plenty about security and compliance, right? But do not take your eye off of security and compliance, right? There's a lot of sensitive financial data involved. So ensure you prioritize security and compliance. You have the right standards in place. And then I'm going to end by, well, two things. I'm going to end by saying two things. Number one, culture and innovation, right? Continue to innovate, continue to instill that within your organization. And lastly, that goes with the member experience, but don't ever stop looking for feedback from the members, right? Whatever you delivered, even before you go to market, get some users to do things and then go out, get some more feedback, continue that loop of continuous improvement and member feedback. So those would be my things I would advise folks to pay attention to.
Well said, Krasi, well said. And you covered pretty much spot on and touched on all the things, right? Start, right? Start and join.
Yeah.
And I would like to extend Pam's view as well, right? What would be your advice you offer to the leaders, especially navigating and evolving this technology landscape, and also ensure the sustainable growth and inclusivity? Pam, if you could share
Yeah,
some of
thank
your
you.
views.
Well, in addition to everything Krasi just said, so I would say, I think what you were getting at, Krasi, was that you have to know what problem you're trying to solve, right? So it's really important that for credit unions in particular, we stay grounded in our mission. Like if your mission says this is what you do and this is what you provide, you have to build your strategy around that. So we really do have to understand what problem we're trying to solve and understand that technology should extend our purpose, not distract from it. So you don't want to adopt technology just because it's the new cool shiny thing. You're going to be distracting your people internally, maybe your members. You really need to stay focused on who you are and what your strategy is around your mission. Use technology to forward that in your space. Don't, just buy the new cool thing because it's the new cool thing, right? We have to be careful about that. I think you have to invest in ability to scale access. You definitely want to think about simplifying experiences for end users because the more complex it is, the less likely they are to adopt it. And finally, I would say we have to prioritize inclusion all along the way, regardless of what that means, whether that's generational, socioeconomic. Our membership is depending on us to provide these tools and access that they need. And we need to think about how it's received when we are approaching new technology.
Thank you, Pam and Krasi, for taking time. I think we covered pretty much, at least to summarize, we spoke briefly about the generative AI, how it is impacting the banking, credit union, and financial services industry. We talked about briefly about how the implementation and adoption, user experience, member experience, we spoke about it, and then we also talked some of the, how we can continuously engage the associate, keep the association and communication strategy with the members. That is important, and we also spoke about continuous learning and development. And again, folks on the bridge, right? Whoever, if you have more questions, feel free to send it to us. If time doesn't permit, we will take it offline and then we will respond to your queries. Thanks for joining, and over to you, Nathan.
Thank you, everyone. Thanks a lot, Yuvraj, for moderating this session beautifully. And we would like to thank all our community partners, eminent speakers for today, Pam, Krasi, and every participant for contributing to this forum and fostering a great discussion. The panelists, as I delivered exceptional session, as I said, and we are grateful for your eagerness to collaborate and impart the knowledge to the large community as a whole. Just for your information, today's webinar was broadcasted live on LinkedIn Live, and for those who couldn't attend the session or wish to review it, the recording will be accessible on our company's YouTube channel. So feel free to connect with us. We are excited about the upcoming technological innovations we will be delving into this year as well. Our future events this year will focus on Gen AI, but it will cover a wide array of sectors, including banking, financial, insurance, consumer goods, retail, telecom, healthcare, media, supply chain, manufacturing, and a lot of
And
other.
one second, Nathan, sorry to interrupt you. I think there is one question pop from
Oh, another one?
Shannon Duncan. I think this question, let me read the question first, but we already covered this in the beginning of the session. With AI accelerating digital transformation in financial institutions, what strategies should bank adopt to effectively engage Gen Z consumers? I think Pam and Krasi, they both briefly spoke about in the beginning. Shannon, I would request you to, this is anyway going to be in live video, you can take a look. But real quick, for Shannon's benefit, Pam and Krasi, maybe 10 seconds for you to do something else.
Yeah,
to
I mean, look,
respond to the question.
I'll just say a couple of things. I'll say a couple of things real quick because it's a great question, right? Especially we're going after Gen Z these days. But I talked about personalization, right? But hyper personalization, key for that group, right? Don't just give me any message, but give me the message that really matters to me at the time that I really need it. So whether it's the right auto loan or student loan, whatever the case might be, make it very, very hyper personalized, specific to me. Instant support. I mean, I think we talked a little bit about this, right? Where chatbots become incredibly important. But we know these guys have no patience, right? They have no patience for anything. They don't want to wait. So I give you that instant support. Oh, and by the way, make it empathetic to me because, I want to make sure I feel like you really care. Everything mobile first, right? I mean, we know mobile first for them. I shared I have two teenage girls that taking the phone away from them. It's like, make everything mobile first and frictionless so they have access to it at any time. And then the final thing I'm going to say is gamification, again, in line with mobile first, but how can we gamify everything when it comes to Gen AI to make it more exciting and rewarding? Because let's be honest, they do care about those rewards, right? And they do care about whatever those games are they play, Minecraft or whatever, right? Where they get rewards. I think we have a huge opportunity to use Gen AI to do that. So those would be a couple of things I'll
Thanks, Kasi. I really appreciate it. Yeah. I hope that answers Shannon's question. And Shannon, look at the details in the beginning. I think we spoke enough on this topic. You can grab more as you can. Over to you, Nitin. I know
Yeah,
you
no.
want
So please follow our social media and everyone who is listening to us, Shannon, including yourself as well. You'll find comprehensive information, notification of our upcoming events, and guidance on how to sign up for future webinars as well. You can see the recording as well, which I just said. Your support is key. Please engage with us and spread our content online. We extend our sincere appreciation to InfoVision as well, who is our knowledge and innovation partner for this webinar, and Digit7, who is our technology partner. So visit infovision.com to explore more about the tech innovations which they are going to do. It was a pleasure to present this session from our side, AI Core Spot, and we hope you enjoyed it as much as we did. We look forward to more engaging sessions in the near future as well. Take care. Have a great day, week ahead, and year ahead. Thank you.
Thank you all.
Thank you.
thank you.